So today, boy, I hope you've had your fair share of coffee this morning, because you're going to need it, and I'm going to need you to concentrate. One of the things that people have a big issue with here is swatch gauges. Now, the reason why you want to do a swatch gauge is when you want a garment to fit. If you're doing a scarf or a blanket, it's less critical. But if you want to make something that is going to fit your body or somebody else's body, it's very, very important that you do a swatch gauge. What we've discovered is most people hate swatch gauging. Majority of people don't really understand what a swatch gauge is or why they should do it and what a difference it makes. So today I'm going to try as clearly as possible to explain it to you. I've been practicing how to not sound confusing because this is an area that people get very confused about. And so if you need me to stop and go back on something, please put a comment in and I'll stop and go back and try and really explain something to you. Because, like I say, this is a subject that people often get a little bit lost on. So,
and should you always swatch?
If you want something to fit you, you should definitely swatch.
Okay.
For a scarf,
yeah,
I don't think I would swatch
for
a
a
scarf.
blanket.
I don't know that I would swatch a blanket either.
Okay.
It depends. If you want it to be something very specific sized, then yes. If you want it to turn out exactly this size by this size, yes, swatch.
Okay.
But if you want to spend hours and hours and hours and hours knitting, and you want the garment to fit you when you're finished, definitely do a swatch. Because, boy. All right, Susan, so this is for you. Get a cup of coffee, sit down, pay attention. Because, boy, like I say, some people get lost with this.
And just remember, you can watch this over and over.
Yeah.
Plus, it'll be moved over to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So you have these resources always at your fingertips.
You do. So I'm going to switch whatchamabobbies here, cameras. And here we have two swatch gauges. Kim kindly brought hers in so that I didn't have to madly knit swatches last night. So just to give you some idea, and you can zoom on this, but just to give you some idea, these are two swatch gauges that she did on exactly the same yarn, but she used different needle sizes. And can you see how different size these stitches are here? Because this was a bigger needle size, this was a smaller needle size. If you're doing a swatch, you ought to knit. You're going to swatch within a 4x4 space like this. So the biggest mistake that people make is they'll read a swatch and they'll say 18 stitches in 4 inches on a US 8. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll knit 18 stitches. Well, it's not enough because you're not measuring without your selvage. If you're too small, you don't really know exactly where you are and how many stitches you're going to get in 4 inches. So what it's saying is, when you see 18 stitches in 4 inches, you need to be knitting a good ½ an inch at least over on each side. So you need to be knitting a good, for 18 stitches, I would knit 25, 26, 30 stitches across.
Yes.
And I would do, 30 rows up, because you want it to be a nice, clear space right here.
And it'll lay flat.
And it'll lay flat and you'll get a really good solid count. And then you want to dampen it and block it to the desired appearance. This is another way to do it right here. A lot of people put a garter on the edges and on the top and the bottom. This stops your fabric rolling in when you're trying to swatch. So you get a nice even square right here. That's really pretty, isn't it? So the importance of swatching. If Kim had continued her sweater on this size needle, the sweater would have been too small. This ended up being the right gauge for her, for the sweater to fit, but you can see it would have been significantly smaller.
And don't ask why I did that one so huge.
This one, yeah.
Yes.
But it's better to over knit your swatch than under knit your swatch.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. You need your swatch big enough that you can fit a 4x4 hole on there and measure. Okay. And to measure, you're going to measure your stitches across. And usually, often swatches tell you measure across, stitches in 4 inches and rows in 4 inches. The most critical is the stitches in 4 inches, because if you get the stitches in 4 inches correct in your gauge, typically your length's going to sort itself out. And if it doesn't, it's easy or adjustable. You can add or take away rows, but you can't add or take away stitches on your width. So you're going to lay it on like this, and you're going to line, can you see right here? We have this line of stitches right here. Can you see that? This is going to be my first line of stitches, and I like to put it on the edge of, this is your full stitch right here. Whoops, this is your full stitch. And this is the center of your stitch. And I like to line it up on the first stitch and have the center of the stitch right here, because it's easier to count across. If you aren't looking at the whole picture and you're just looking at these little holes to count, you'll lose track of which holes you're counting. So my tip number 1 is make sure that you get a whole line of stitches, and when you're counting, kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see how I'm coming down at the center of all the stitches and I'm not losing track of where I am? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and a half. You see, there's the center of the stitch, so this is a half stitch. And you think you don't have to count the half stitch? You do have to count the half stitch. Very important that you count the half stitch, and I'll tell you why in a little while. So that's your stitches in your gauge. These are your stitches per 4 inches on whatever your needle size is. And then if you want to count your rows, you're going to just count the holes at the bottom of the V's. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So you got 23 up, and I've already forgotten what the count across was.
I wasn't here for that.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and a half. So you got 15 and a half across and 22 up. Like I say,
23.
Height is less critical than width. Width is the thing that's mostly going to fit you. Height is always adjustable, almost always adjustable. So this was 15 and a half on this larger needle. On this smaller needle, here's what the difference is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 stitches. So that's 16, that's 3.5 stitches per 4 inches. So if you times that by, let's say, if you need to do a 39 bust, you're going to be out inches.
You want your calculator?
You're going to be out, 4 or 5 inches on your width. So you think, oh, it's just a couple of stitches here. It doesn't really matter. But you have to multiply that by how big your entire garment is. And so these few little stitches hanging off the edges here, they end up being inches and inches and inches away from the measurement that you're looking for. So this would be too small. I'm going to explain this to you now. Is that clear, Kim, or do you need a bit more explanation?
I think that's clear.
Okay.
But if you have any questions, please, just put it in the comments.
Yeah. So this right here, your gauge. I'm looking at this pattern right here. This pattern it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's the flax sweater, flax pullover by Tin Can Knits. It's actually a really nice pattern because look at this. This is kind of unusual. You can make it all the way from 0 to 6 months, all the way up to a 6L. That's insane. And it also has different sizing options that you can make it longer or shorter or 3/4 sleeves or whatever you want. So it's a really awesome pattern. Here's what it's calling for. It's calling for your gauge, 18 stitches and 22 rounds, which is rows, because you're doing it in the round, in 4 inches. And it tells you that this is going to be in stockinette stitch. Remember, your stockinette stitch is this, where you knit one side and you purl one side. So it's telling you that you're looking for 18 stitches in 4 inches. So actually this is a pretty good swatch because this was 18.
Yeah.
Was this 18?
I think so.
Yeah. So this is a good swatch.
Yes.
This is pretty good because this will give you an idea of what a difference it makes.
So in your swatch, because it's flat, you're going to be knitting and purling the next round. But when you're actually doing the sweater, you're in the round, so you're just knitting the entire time.
Right. So if you are doing a swatch for in the round, the best way to do it, because most people purl looser. So if you're doing a swatch for in the round, but you want to do it flat, a lot of people say, do your knit side on one needle size and your purl side on a size smaller. And it'll give you more accurate count, just typically because most people's purling is looser. Okay. Your purl might not be looser, and if it's not, if your purl and your knit are pretty good, then just do it in knit.
Okay, good to know.
And that's how to do it. So here, what we're looking for gauge. And it tells you 18 stitches and 22 rounds in 4 inch in stockinette, which is knit one side, purl one side. And it says using the larger needles. So your suggested needles right here, you're going to do a US 6, and that's going to be for your ribbon, and a US 8 is going to be for the main body. So your larger needle is a US 8. So we know that we're looking for an 18 stitch gauge in 4 inches on a US 8. Right? That's where you're going to start with your swatch. You might not meet your swatch with this, but that's where you're going to start. And our chest measurement is right here, look. Our chest, this is a straight-sided sweater right here, so your chest measurement is taken from the fullest part of the bust or chest. But this is a straight line, so it's the same the whole way down. So you're going to take your chest measurement. When you are measuring to make a sweater, you're going to measure around the fullest part of your bust or the fullest part of your chest to get your body measurement, okay? And then it tells us here that this sizing table is for finished garment measurements. And this is very important that you read the sizing, because some of the measurements include ease, positive or negative ease. Some of them do not. You've got to add your ease. So here it says choose a size based upon your chest measurement plus your desired ease. So if you are a size 37 bust, you would be a medium. But if you want to have a little give in that 37, you don't want it to be snuggling your whatchamabob bits. Then,
your bits and bobs.
your bits and bobs. And you want a little ease. If you want a 2-inch ease, you're going to go up to 39 inches. You might want a big ease. Might want a big baggy sweater that you can wear things underneath. So you might want to go up even a little bit further. But for purposes of this tutorial, I'm looking at a 37 bust, and I want a 2-inch positive ease, so I'm going to do it 39 inches, okay? Here's where we start. 18 stitches on 4 inches on a US 8, okay? So we learned that. This is our goal. This is 18 stitches on 4 inches on a US 8. If you only get 16 stitches on 4 inches, it means you're not fitting enough stitches in. You've only got 16 stitches in this 4-inch space. You're looking for 18 stitches in this 4-inch space. If you're only getting 16, it means your stitches are too big. If your stitches are too big, it means your needle's too big. So you did that on an 8, so you would go down to a 7 because your stitches are too big. You're not getting enough stitches in these 4 inches, okay? On the other hand, if you're getting more stitches, if you're getting 20 stitches in here instead of 18, it means your stitches are too small. You've got too many stitches in there. Stitches are too small, so your needle's too small. You need to go up a needle size from your original, which was 8. So you'd need to go up to a 9. And you think, oh, well, it doesn't really make that much difference. It's only a couple of stitches.
But depending on how many inches going around you.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you why it makes such a difference, people. Make sure that you take a sip of coffee right now.
Or water.
Take a deep breath, sit down and concentrate hard. Okay, because here's why it makes a difference. We're doing the size 37. I can do it this so it's not confusing. we're doing the size 37, which is the medium, plus 2 inches of positive ease, which brings us to the 39, which is the ML. The 39 right here is the ML. This is what our goal is right here, okay? If you continue doing your sweater with these gauges, a 16 or a 20, one's too big and one's too small, here's what happens. Here's your 18, this is where you want to be. All right, you ready? You've got 18 stitches in 4 inches, okay? You need to divide these 18 stitches by 4 inches. So you get how many stitches you have in 1 inch. So 18 divided by 4 is 4.5 stitches in an inch. So per inch, you have 4.5 stitches. Your goal is to have 39 inches around your chest, around the full body of the sweater. So to make 1 inch, it takes 4.5 stitches. So to get 39 inches, you're going to take this 1 inch measurement, 4.5 stitches times 39, 175.5 stitches. That equals 39 inches. 175, and the way that you find this, you need to go to the biggest part of your body, right here, your chest or your body. And I know, because I'm separating my body and my sleeves right here, so I know that I've taken all these stitches off for my sleeves and I'm left with my body size. The sleeve stitches are on hold, and we have a remaining 176 stitches to do the 39 inch in the correct gauge. So right here, 176 stitches, we've got 175.5, which is it. You're good. You're right there, 39 inches. Now then, you got that? You got questions about that? Anybody have questions? Because now I'm going to move on. This is your correct what you need. Gauge. But I'm going to move on now. I just need a blank piece of paper. I was using that and I need it. There we go. So this is your correct gauge. You got everything correct. 176 stitches. You're all good. So on your next one, right here, when you got 16 stitches in 4 inches, this is your next one. 16 stitches in 4 inches. So you know that your stitch is too big, your needle is too big. You need to go down to US 7 to get the correct gauge. Okay? If you don't go to, if you're getting 16 stitches and you don't go down to the correct gauge, you're going to end up 16 stitches divided by 4 equals 4 stitches in an inch. The correct gauge is 4.5 stitches in an inch, and you think, half a stitch, that doesn't matter. But it does matter, because if you take 4 stitches per inch times by 39, excuse me, no, not by 39. If you take, what did I do there? I did that wrong. If you take,
multiplied here and divided here.
Yeah. So you've got your 176 stitches right here, 175.5 divided by 4. You're going to end up with a 43.88 chest. You're going to end up with a large. Because your stitches are too big. You're getting less stitches in that 4 inches, so your stitches are overflowing. They're too big. So if you do 175.5 stitches at 4 stitches an inch, you end up at 40, basically 43, 44 inches right here, roundabouts. So you're going to end up, if you continue on this 16 per 4 inches, you're going to end up with a large. If you continue on your 20 stitches, your stitch is too small, your needle's too small. If you continue with too small a stitch, your 20 stitches divided by 4, you're getting 5 stitches in an inch. You take your 175.5, your 176 stitches, that is the ML, and you divide that by 5, you're going to end up with 35 inches. You're going to end up with a small medium instead of a medium large. So it makes a huge difference. These what we're looking at here are half stitch differences from the main one. This is the correct one, 4.5. This one is 4. This one is 5. Half inch differences half stitch differences in an inch, you end up with an approximately 4-inch difference overall. Your sweater won't fit. Okay, it won't fit. So this is why it's important that you learn how to do a gauge and you learn how to adjust a gauge. Now the next part of this, if you like the appearance in the drape of the fabric gauge that you did, and it was incorrect, say you got 16 inches, so your stitches were too big, but you really liked it, then you can adjust your count. You'll do a different size to get a 39 chest, and I'm going to show you what that is. And again, I hope you're paying attention here and breathing. You might want to stop and have another cup of coffee, put me on pause and then play again, because let the first part sink in. Okay, so if you like the appearance or drape of the fabric gauge, even if it's incorrect, or you want to use a different size yarn, and we get this a lot.
Yeah.
There's a pattern for a worsted weight, somebody wants to do it in a DK weight. Here's how you do that. So you're doing the ML, which we showed you, the medium large, which is 176 stitches, gives you 39 inches. This is your gauge that you're looking for, 18 and 4 inches, which is 4.5 stitches per inch, times by 39, gives you this many stitches. We go here, we know that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in. So we know that 5 in is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know that we're doing the ML for 39 inches. Okay, so this is where you want to be. Now then, if you're getting 4 stitches per inch, which is larger, so if you're using a larger yarn or you like the look of that gauge, Kim's gonna have to go, or you like the look of that gauge, then there's a way that you can do it, okay? You just will do a different size. So you're looking for a 39-inch bust or chest. So your 16 inches divided by 4 gives you 4 stitches per inch. You're looking for a 39-inch chest, 4 stitches per inch times 39, 156 stitches instead of 175 stitches, 156 stitches. So when we look at this body for 156 stitches, and you've got to take this number at the largest part of the body, or largest part of the chest. So we're looking for 156 stitches. Here's 158 right here. There's our goal, 176. Here's 158. 158 is 1, 2, 3 in, 1, 2, 3. So then you're making a small medium at 35 inches. Do you see that? A small medium at 35 inches. I know this is confusing people, but bear with me and you can replay it. You can replay. So if I did the correct gauge, I get the 39 inches on 175. If my stitches are too big and I only get 16 stitches, 4 stitches per inch, times, I still want the 39 bust, but I'm only going to cast on for this size, at the full body size, is 156. This is 158. That's absolutely clear enough because that's out of the entire body. So I'm going to be casting on instructions for the small medium right here, and I'm going to continue throughout the pattern looking for the instructions on the small medium, on the small medium. I'm going to follow that all the way through the pattern, and it will adjust your entire pattern. You're going to be knitting the small medium, but because your gauge is off, you're going to end up with the medium large is what you want. Now again, if your stitches are too small and you're getting 20 stitches in 4 inches, 5 stitches an inch, you take the 5 stitches per inch, you still want a 39-inch chest. So it's 5 times 39, you come to 195 stitches. And when you look on here in your body, 195 stitches is the next size up from where our goal is, 194. So instead of going 5 in, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to be going here. You're going to be knitting the large for the 43 inches. Okay, so you're going to cast on for the directions for the large, and you're going to knit the large all the way through. When you're making these adjustments, go through your pattern before you even start and highlight all of the size instructions that you're doing so you don't lose track of where you are. So you can still get this 39 inches, the medium large, you can still get it on a smaller yarn that gives you 5 stitches per inch, or that your gauge is wrong and you're doing 5 stitches per inch on the same size yarn. But you're going to be doing it for the size of 195 stitches to get to this 39, which means you're doing the large, the 43 inches to get to 39. Does that make sense, people? I know it's a bit confusing, but if you sit down and you watch this and you replay it, and I can actually post this piece of paper and it would help you, I think. If I post this, I can take a photograph of it and post it on this feed or post it on our website. And it's a printout that you can refer back to, because you always need to refer back, because this is it's a very confusing thing, and not all patterns are written equally. So, you know, a lot of it is kind of the instructions that your pattern gives. This is a particularly good pattern, really well laid out. It tells you what that you're going to add your desired ease on it, and where you should be. So if you wanted to stay right here, you wanted to do exactly what you're doing, same yarn, same size, but this stitch was too big, you go down to a 7. This stitch was too small, you go up to a 9. It can be as simple as that. It's just if you want to start manipulating things or keeping with the wrong gauge, then you have to start changing your sizing. I'm going to keep this handout here for you. I'm going to post it on this page, and hopefully it's going to be helpful. Whew, that was a lot, wasn't it? Yes, it was a lot. I'm very sorry about that. But we have so many people that are confused about this particular thing. They're so confused that they won't knit sweaters because they're afraid of them. And once you... Linda, that yarn is beautiful. It's the Rios. Kim's knitting her Franca cardigan in this. It's the Rios Peachy. It is beautiful. But stick with it, and I'll keep these printouts here for you. And you just have to practice. You have to practice. And sometimes you've got to sit there with this sheet like this. Sit there with your calculator and just go over it in your head and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it until you kind of grasp it. And frankly, if you're not doing gauge a lot, if it's only every now and again you're doing it, you forget how to do this. You have to refer back to it every time. So don't feel bad that you have to refer back to it every time. I have to do reminders all the time. I hope this is helpful. I went a little bit over time. I was trying to keep it clear and concise, and I'm hoping that you just didn't get over confused by it. If you did, have a nice drink. Have a nice whiskey or a cup of coffee. Don't drink coffee anymore now, because you've got all the caffeine you need to get these instructions. But I hope this was helpful. And if you've got questions about it, let me know. And we have started doing private session classes again. So if you want a private class on swatching, or if you have a project that you need to resize, and you can schedule a private class with us and come on in and we'll walk you through this. We'll hold your hand and help you every step of the way. So as I say, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day. It's absolutely gorgeous out there, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.